You're watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.
It's Wednesdays with Keegs, and before he jets off for spring training, we're going to play a little 5 questions, my friend. First one, biggest off-season move. Which one would you deem the biggest, most consequential for the Toronto Blue Jays?
Man, I think I'll take the easy way out with Dylan Cease, but I think the long-term outlook of this matters, Dan. With where the Blue Jays rotation is going a year from now, Shane Bieber will be a free agent, and man, talk about a guy with a lot of money up in the air this year. You know, it's this could go the way of Bieber signing a 3 or 4 year deal next year, or it could go the way of him signing something much closer to what Cease just signed. Like, he has a lot at stake this year. And that's a good thing if you're a Blue Jays fan. You want a motivated player, and tens of millions of dollars tend to motivate people, I have heard. Mm-hmm. So you've got that. You have Kevin Gausman, who will be a free agent. Jose Berrios, we don't know what the hell is going to happen there. But it's very possible he is not here a year from now. And if you're going to be rebuilding a rotation, you need your pillars. Like, if you're only going to have a couple guys left, they need to be your pillars. You don't want to need to go out and grab those guys. And having Trey Yesavage and Dylan Cease to build around going into the future is pretty damn exciting. And the upside of Cease is really where a lot of this energy comes from, because it reminds me just so much, Dan, of the Kevin Gausman signing at the time. He's not just a number 2 who's going to eat a bunch of innings. There's upside. There's game-winning upside. And I think the Cease conversation brings me to like the larger philosophical idea of this spring training, is that like they're not hoping to win anymore. They need to win. And you need to think about World Series games. You need to think about ALCS games. A year ago, it was just, oh, God, like, wouldn't it be nice if they got mentioned in the same sentence as the Yankees and they got invited to the playoffs? Like, whatever. Thank God that is over. I hated that era. Now you need to think with every signing and every move and every roster decision about how will this look in Game 5 of the ALCS against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium? How will this look in Game 3 against Yamamoto and the Dodgers in the World Series again? Because that's the expectation. And Dylan Cease in those situations looks really, really good. It's about what you can do in the playoffs now, and I think Cease, like Gausman last year in the playoffs, can rise to that occasion. And if the Blue Jays, man, can tinker and get 2% more out of him, and I think Pete Walker can, like, look out. This is a guy that can lead the league in strikeouts, dominate, top 5 Cy Young votes. That talent's there.
That's a good thing for a coach to say to a player. Just give me 2% more.
Just a little bit more.
Prediction for most impactful Blue Jay this season, the team MVP in your eyes.
Ooh, man. The easy answer, it'll be Vladdy. But I like to, with any conversation of value, Dan, like really dig down in what value means. You know, we expect Vladdy to be great. He's going to be great. We expect Varsho to hit 20 bombs and play great defense. He'll probably do that. Ernie Clement will do what he does. But when I try to think of the biggest variable on this team, I think it's Kazuma Okamoto, man. Like, that is, I would argue, their most high upside, move that they've made, or where they need the most upside from. Because Okamoto, it's not fair to ask him to replace Bo Bichette right away. He is not just getting used to a new league and new pitchers, but a new life. And I want to leave some room for him to do that. But the projections on Okamoto and his offensive style coming over from Japan are much more favorable than you often see for a hitter coming from Japan. The projections and all the fancy stats and the calculators really like Okamoto. And they should, because I think his game translates really well to the majors. I love his swing, man. His swing is so damn nice to look at. But he is where so much upside lies. And I think that Okamoto has a lot of power to impact the success of this team. Vladdy will be the best player. George Springer needs to be right up there with him. Anthony Santander needs to have a pulse. But Okamoto, man, there's such a ceiling there for him to add legitimately a couple of wins to this team. And if that happens, from the support he'll have from the Japanese market and their fans and media, and how I think this fan base will adopt Okamoto right away. Like, if he starts off hot, You're talking like fan favorite, beloved player in this city. I think that'll happen really quickly.
What's his grace period for getting accustomed to baseball in North America?
Man, it should be a year. He'll be given a week. It takes a while because I can't imagine all of a sudden just every single pitcher you're facing you've never seen before. And I guess it's a little bit like the call up from AAA and you're facing all new guys. But the pitching, the raw stuff here is just better than in Japan professionally. There's more velocity, more movement. A lot of Japanese pitchers are catching up in that regard, and pitching is really taking a jump like we're seeing coming over from Japan. But the consistency of it, where every single guy out of the bullpen's throwing 99 with a ridiculous slider, that is much more rare in North America in the Major League game. So I will want to give him quite a while, but I know that it's World Series expectations, so he will be given a couple days.
Season starts today. Toronto Blue Jays batting order.
Ooh, I can't wait. I think on like day one of spring training, I'm going to ask Schneider this with a really straight face. I'm really just going to lean in, Dan, to just kind of making spring training enjoyable for myself and whatever. It's a long time down there, and it's a long time to cover spring training with a roster that's pretty much set. What am I going to cover? Like the 26th man on the roster, who's the 8th reliever? But I think the best way that I always do it is to lay out what it will look like against righties, which you'll see most often, and then what can change against lefties. So against righties, assuming that's how opening day starts, I think you go, let me make sure I don't forget anyone. Springer at the leadoff still. Addison Barger is a real candidate for number 2, I think, if you're facing righties. He kills righties. If he can survive against lefties, that changes his whole career. Right now, he kills righties, and that's enough. I think he can be that number 2 hitter, especially if George is getting on. Like, that's a way to blitz opposing pitchers. Then you'll have Vladdy. Kirk can be in the cleanup spot there. I'd probably like Varsho ahead of Santander right now. Like, I think Varsho, what he showed last year with that power upside over, 78 games, it's tantalizing. He's strong as hell, man. He is such a strong athlete. And the power's there to hit 30-plus. I think he can be in the middle of the lineup, especially, again, against righties. Then from the bottom third, I think you go 7, Okamoto, Clemente, 8, Jimenez, 9. And then you've got some options on the bench. Now, if a lefty rolls out the next day, you keep the same structure, but the number 2 spot, Dan, is where it gets a little trickier because Bo Bichette's gone. So is Okamoto that number 2? I think he really can be. Maybe not to start the season, but I think for much of the season, Okamoto can be the number 2 guy against lefties. He hits lefties really well. You've got Davis Schneider and Nathan Lucas in there. Does Schneider draw in against lefties? It makes some sense, and you can have Lucas against righties as well. And then dropping Barger. That's the other issue. How much do you want to expose Barger to lefties? Because last year, if I'm going to crap on a guy, I need to have the right numbers in front of me here. But let's look at last year with Addison Barger against lefties. We'll find out that I was wrong all along. But against righties, 788 OPS. Against lefties, he hit 217 with a 607 OPS. Hey. It's not great. And I know he has an incredible throwing arm, does a lot good defensively. But unless you're Andres Jimenez, you need better offensive numbers than that. So right now, the Jays, between kind of this 3 or 4-headed monster of like Barger, Schneider, Lucas, Clement. And this is how MLB rosters are built, because it's like a 4-man platoon for 2 spots, and they all play different positions. I just wish I covered baseball in like the 60s and everyone played one position for 163 games. And it was boring. But I think that you can piece it together. And I also think that the Jays need to make another move to simplify all of this stuff, because it's a little bit too much of a puzzle. Because if you lose one of your platoon guys, well, all of a sudden Barger's facing a lefty every day, and you've got a 590. You've got Santander's numbers from last year facing lefties all the time, which you don't want. But I like where the lineup's at. I would just love it with one more.
That's a hell of a batting order. There are no holes in that batting order. Opening day starter.
See, this one legitimately interests me. Like, this isn't just me like on camera being like, it's interesting. But I honestly am fascinated by this because Dylan Cease just signed the biggest free agent contract in team history. But Kevin Gausman's been the guy. And was it Jose Barrios last year? My God, my year over year, I lose my mind. But when you look up and down, and like even Shane Bieber's a guy who on a lot of teams would be the guy. And I want to see how many times Barrios has done this for the Blue Jays, just to kind of frame how wild this is. 3 of the last 4 years has been Barrios. The last 2 years, then it was Manoah, then Barrios. Ryu, Stroman, J-Hap. What an era. But, wow, things have come a long way. I would love to give it to Gausman, and I've gone back and forth on this, and I've changed my mind out loud. I think that it belongs to Gausman because this guy just pitched you into the World Series. And then you understand, like, I would feel wrong if Gausman went his Jays career without the opening day start. It feels strange to me. And if he can have it this 1 year, his 5th out of a 5-year deal, then the next 6 years probably belong to Dylan Cease, and maybe Trey Savage takes him over. But it's such a ceremonial kind of, it's more BS than people think, really. Like, and it's a lot about setting up the rotation too, Dan. Do you want to have a certain order of pitchers? I don't want to have Savage and Gausman back to back. I want to separate those splitters. So that's one thing. Maybe you go Gausman, Cease, Savage. Then you have, Shane Bieber's your number 4. It's stupid. But as long as everyone's healthy, man, it's the analytics. Maybe you can find 1 inch of advantage over a full season. Screw it. Like, Gausman deserves to have an opening day start in his career here, man.
Mm-hmm. Now, no one last year on Earth predicted what Savage would do, where he started, and where he ended up. Is there a top prospect that is a bit more predictable that we may see in a Blue Jays uniform in the majors this year?
It's going to take some things going right. Like when I look at position players, Dan, a lot of them project more to come up in the role of like a Davis Schneider, Nathan Lucas, Miles Straw. Maybe someone like RJ Schreck. He is one of their top outfield prospects. He'll be close to ready. You have infielders.
His last name Schreck?
Schreck. Now it's spelled S-C-H-R-E, so it's not spelled exactly like the ogre.
Yeah.
But it would be a dream for the Blue Jays social media team. I'm sure they've got some bullets in the chamber already. But you've got other older prospects who are getting closer. A lot of the Blue Jays' top young prospects, Arjun Namala, are down at the very low levels and still need some time. But I looked to pitch him. Gage Stanifer is probably another number 5, 6 prospect. He could be ready by midseason. But long way to a short answer is that I think Ricky Tiedemann, their young left-hander, is a really cool name to watch. He is probably on the short list of the first 3 people I want to talk to when I get to Dunedin. Because, like I said, Dan, like the rest of this roster is set, honestly. Like the Blue Jays run a boring spring training, and I mean that complimentary. Because for the last 5 or 6 years, there hasn't really been any competition or question marks in spring. You kind of go in and 24 or 25 of the roster spots are sewn up. But this spring, I think Ricky Tiedemann can be a really interesting piece. He underwent Tommy John surgery 2 years ago, missed last year as well, but he's back, he's healthy, and I'm interested to see him physically when I walk into the room, because Ricky Tiedemann was a guy who, their former number 1 prospect, he's still just 23, but when he was drafted 4 or 5 years ago, he immediately took a big physical jump. He went from a average-built guy to this built pitcher, and his success followed. Then, a couple of years later, I still remember it, this was the 2 spring trainings ago, I walked into the clubhouse, and he looked like a bodybuilder. I remember being absolutely wowed by the shape he was in. And I don't care too much about the annual spring BS of best shape of their lives, but he looked ridiculous. And in hindsight, Dan, I should have looked at that and said, okay, the human body can only do so much. He might be pushing it a little far right now. So I'm interested to see if he's gotten a bit more natural, athletic in that sense with his delivery. That'll matter. But if he is healthy, I think he will very, very quickly force the same conversation Savage did a year ago of, is this one of your 13 best pitchers? And it might take until midseason until he gets settled in, gets his feet under him. But he is incredibly gifted. He's easy to root for. He can throw 99. He can kill you with a changeup. And I think back to 2-3 years ago, Dan, there would be crowds of like veteran, established starters with $100 million in their pocket over at some backfield watching Ricky Tiedemann. He's really, really, really talented. And only 1 out of every 10 times do these guys work out. But if they do, holy crap. So it's won't be as a starter, won't be 200 innings. You're probably looking shorter, little bursts. But the upside is just tantalizing, and it's easy to dream on that.
Tiedemann from the same town as Snoop, which is
Where are
Long
they from?
Beach.
Long Beach. I was going to say Inglewood.
Long Beach, Inglewood.
Yeah, see, I got the second option, but I'll have to ask if they know one another. Maybe that's I'm desperate
Snoop
for stories
is very
already.
well known there, and he's a very personal guy. He coaches football and stuff. I'm sure they've run into each
I'm
other.
convinced there's like 7 Snoop Dogs. You know, it's just like there's too much. Him and Shaq. You know, you can't promote all those products with a couple clones. I think.
Here. This is my last question to you. Guess Snoop's age. I was 10 years off.
Oh, wow.
When we were guessing Snoop's age the other day, I was 10 years off. What would you say?
Okay, so like early 90s, he would have been in his 54.
That's exactly his age.
Is it really?
I thought he was
This is
64. I thought he was in his 60s.
That's awesome.
Snoop's only 4 years older than me.
You know, a bit less of a glow, but you know what? I think he's living well.
Yeah, he is. Thanks, buddy.
You got her, Dan.
Thanks for watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.